The Krellian Dominion had been crushing entire worlds for 300 years. Their massive war fleets moved through space like deadly storms, destroying everything in their path. The insect-like aliens fought with perfect coordination, as if they shared one giant mind. No one had ever stopped them. No one had even slowed them down. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the USS Defiant. He was looking at a holographic map of space. Red warning lights covered the display like a spreading disease. Each red light meant another civilization had fallen to the Krellians. In just 6 months, 17 different worlds had been destroyed. Jake was a tall man with short dark hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting in space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The Krellians were different from every other enemy humanity had faced. They were ruthless, powerful, and seemingly unstoppable. Lieutenant Claire Anderson sat at the communications station. She was young, maybe 25, with blonde hair tied back in a tight bun. Her fingers moved quickly across her control panel as she listened to incoming messages. Suddenly, her face went pale. "Commander," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "We're getting distress calls from the Valorian colony on Epsilon Prime. The Krellian fleet just entered their system. They're asking for help." Jake felt his stomach tighten. He knew the Valorians well. They were peaceful people who loved art and music. They had no real military to speak of. Against the Krellians, they would be slaughtered in hours. "How many Krellian ships?" Jake asked. Claire checked her readings. "At least 40 capital ships, sir. Big ones. Dreadnoughts, carriers, heavy cruisers. It's a full invasion force." The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what those numbers meant. The Defiant was just one ship. It was powerful, yes. It had the newest weapons and the strongest shields humanity had ever built. But one ship against 40 was suicide. Lieutenant Commander Danny White turned from his station. He was Jake's second-in-command, a stocky man with red hair and freckles. "Sir, we need to think about this." "Those odds are impossible. We should call for backup." Jake looked at the tactical display again. He saw the distance between their position and Epsilon Prime. He calculated the time it would take for reinforcements to arrive. The math was simple and brutal. By the time help came, the Valorians would all be dead. "Set a course for Epsilon Prime," Jake said quietly. "Maximum speed." Danny's eyes went wide. "But sir, we'll be outnumbered 40-1. "That's a suicide mission." Jake met his friend's gaze. "The Valorians don't have time for us to wait for backup. We're all they have. Set the course." The crew moved to follow his orders. The Defiant's engines roared to life, pushing the massive battleship faster and faster through the darkness of space. Jake knew he had just made a decision that could kill everyone on his ship. 800 people trusted him to keep them safe, and he was leading them into an impossible fight. But what choice did he have? He couldn't just let innocent people die. That wasn't what humanity stood for. That wasn't what he stood for. In the crew quarters below the bridge, 800 men and women went about their duties. Some worked in the engine rooms, keeping the powerful reactors running. Others loaded weapons and prepared for battle. Medical teams set up their equipment, knowing they would need it soon. Everyone knew where they were going. Everyone knew the odds. But no one complained. Jake thought about what he knew of Krellian tactics. They always attacked the same way. First, they would surround the planet with their fleet. Then they would destroy any defending ships. Finally, they would bombard the surface until nothing was left alive. It was efficient, brutal, and had worked every single time for 300 years. But the Krellians had never fought the Defiant before. Jake's ship represented 10 years of research and development. It cost more money than some planets made in a year. Its weapons were powered by controlled black holes. Its armor could shift and change to redirect energy. And its crew was the best Earth had to offer. Lieutenant Greg Palmer looked up from the navigation station. He was a thin man with glasses, more like a professor than a soldier. "Sir, we'll reach Epsilon Prime in 12 hours. The Krellians will start their bombardment in about 14 hours. "Then we're cutting it close," Jake said. He pressed a button to activate the ship-wide intercom. His voice would now be heard in every room and corridor of the Defiant. "All hands, this is the captain. In 12 hours, we're going to fight the Krellian Dominion. We'll be defending the Valorians on Epsilon Prime. I won't lie to you. The odds are terrible. We're one ship against 40. But humans didn't reach the stars by running away from fights. We are the Defiant. Today we're going to show these aliens exactly what that name means. Morrison out." In the weapons bay, Chief Engineer Linda Hayes was running final checks on the main cannon. It was the most powerful weapon ever mounted on a human ship. It needed its own dedicated reactor just to power it. When it fired, it could punch through almost anything. Linda was a short woman with dark skin and clever hands. She had helped design this weapon. She knew it better than anyone. The targeting computers hummed and clicked as her crew loaded special ammunition. Each shot cost more than a luxury house on Earth. But if they could save the Valorians, it would be worth every penny. Back on the bridge, Jake watched the countdown clock. Each second brought them closer to the battle. He thought about his daughter, Amy, who was training at the academy back on Earth. She wanted to be a pilot like her father. He wondered if he would ever see her again. "Sir," Claire said softly, "we're receiving another message from the Valorian Council. They're telling us to turn back. They don't want us to die for them." Jake smiled, though there was no humor in it. "Tell them humans don't abandon their friends. Tell them the Defiant is coming." The battleship rushed through space toward a fight it probably couldn't win. The crew prepared their weapons and said quiet prayers. Everyone knew this might be their last day alive, but they also knew they were doing something important. For 300 years, the Krellians had crushed anyone who stood against them. Everyone believed they were unbeatable. Everyone believed resistance was pointless. The Defiant was about to prove them wrong. The Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Epsilon Prime system. What Jake and his crew saw made their blood run cold. The Krellian fleet hung above the beautiful blue-green planet like a swarm of metal insects. Their ships were strange and organic-looking, as if they had been grown rather than built. Weapons bristled from every surface. Below the fleet, the planet was already under attack. Small flashes of light showed where Krellian weapons were striking the surface. Cities were burning. People were dying. "Give me numbers," Jake said, his voice steady despite the fear in his gut. Danny worked his controls quickly. "Confirmed 42 ships, sir. 12 dreadnoughts, 15 heavy cruisers, 10 carriers with fighter screens, and 5 command vessels. They've surrounded the planet completely. The Valorian defense fleet has been destroyed. We're detecting wreckage and escape pods everywhere." "Are there survivors in those pods?" "Yes, sir. Scattered throughout the system. The Krellians aren't picking them up." That told Jake something important. The Krellians weren't taking prisoners. They weren't interested in mercy or negotiation. They were here to exterminate every living thing on that planet. "All right," Jake said. "Claire, open a channel on all frequencies. Let's say hello." Claire's fingers danced across her panel. "Channel open, sir." Jake took a deep breath and spoke. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force Battleship Defiant. You are ordered to stop your attack on Epsilon Prime and leave this system immediately. This is your only warning." For a moment, there was only silence. Then the main view screen crackled to life. A Krellian commander appeared. The creature was huge, at least 8 feet tall, with a black shell that looked like polished armor. Its eyes glowed with an eerie blue light. When it spoke, its voice was translated by a computer but still sounded harsh and alien. "Single human vessel. You are nothing. Leave or be destroyed. This world belongs to the Krellian Dominion now." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "This world belongs to the Valorians. Leave now, or we'll make you leave." The Krellian's mandibles spread wide. It might have been laughing. "You are 1 ship. We are 42. Your math is wrong, human. Your species will learn what all others have learned. Resistance means death." The transmission cut off. Danny shook his head. "Well, that went about as expected." "I didn't think they'd listen," Jake admitted. "The Krellians only respect strength. Time to show them ours. All hands to battle stations. Danny, power up the main cannon. Linda, I need full power to shields and engines. Greg, plot us a course straight through their formation." Greg looked up in surprise. "Straight through, sir?" "You heard me. Claire, locate those escape pods. We're going to protect them while we fight." The ship burst into controlled chaos. Warning sirens echoed through the hallways. Heavy doors sealed shut. Combat teams ran to their positions. In the engine room, the reactors surged to full power. The contained black holes spun faster and faster, generating enough energy to power a small city. "Sir, the Krellian fleet is moving toward us. Danny reported. 20 ships breaking formation. They're coming for us. Let them come. All forward weapons get ready to fire. Greg, evasive pattern Delta 7. Keep us moving. The Defiant accelerated forward. The distance between the human battleship and the Krellian fleet began to shrink. On the view screen, the enemy ships grew larger and larger. Fighter craft poured out of the carriers like angry wasps. Range in 30 seconds, Danny called out. Jake's hands gripped the arms of his chair. Lock targeting on the lead dreadnoughts. Prepare full missile spread. Targeting locked. Missiles ready. 20 seconds. The tension on the bridge was thick. Every crew member knew they were about to face an enemy that had destroyed civilizations, but there was no fear in their eyes, only determination. 10 seconds. Fighter screen incoming, 200 craft. Point defense systems to automatic, fire at will on fighters. 5 seconds. Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment that would decide everything. Fire. The Defiant's missile tubes erupted with light and fury. 60 missiles streaked across space, their engines burning white-hot. At the same time, the point defense cannons opened up, filling space with deadly energy beams that started destroying Krellian fighters by the dozens. The missiles hit the Krellian formation with devastating results. Shields flared and collapsed. 3 heavy cruisers took direct hits and exploded, their hulls rupturing and venting atmosphere into the void. One of the dreadnoughts lost its entire forward section in a massive explosion that lit up space like a newborn star. Direct hits! 3 cruisers destroyed, 1 dreadnought heavily damaged, Danny shouted with triumph in his voice. But the Krellians were already responding. Weapons across their entire fleet opened fire. Suddenly, the space around the Defiant became a storm of energy beams and plasma torpedoes. The battleship's shields flared brilliant blue as they absorbed hit after hit. Shields at 85%. Hull is stable, reported the damage control officer. Return fire. All weapons. Show them what we've got. The Defiant's weapons came alive. Energy cannons tracked and fired with perfect precision. The main cannon charged with a sound like reality itself was screaming. When it fired, a beam of pure energy tore through space and struck a Krellian carrier dead center. The massive ship simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. On the Krellian command vessel, the Hive commander watched in shock. In 300 years of conquest, no single ship had ever done this much damage to a Krellian fleet. The humans were supposed to be weak and disorganized. This ship was proving that belief wrong. All ships focus on the human vessel. Destroy it now. Maximum firepower. The order went out and the entire Krellian fleet turned toward the Defiant. The real battle had begun. The space around Epsilon Prime became a hell of fire and explosions. The Defiant twisted and turned through the Krellian formation, its shields blazing as they deflected wave after wave of enemy fire. Wreckage from destroyed ships tumbled through the darkness. Shields at 60%, called out Lieutenant Amy Chen from engineering. We're taking heavy fire from all sides. Hull breach on Deck 7. Damage control teams responding. Jake barely heard her over the sound of impacts against the hull. The ship shuddered with each hit, but it kept fighting. Danny, focus on those dreadnoughts. They're the backbone of their fleet, take them down. Main cannon recharging, 40 seconds to next shot. Make it 30, we don't have 40. In the weapons bay, Linda was working miracles. Her team had the main cannon's cooling systems running far beyond safe limits, but safe didn't win battles. Come on, baby, she whispered to the massive weapon. Just a little faster. On the bridge, Greg was earning his pay. His hands moved across the navigation console with perfect precision, keeping the Defiant in constant motion. Every few seconds, the ship changed course, making it nearly impossible for the Krellians to predict where it would be. Sir, detecting massive energy buildup from the flagship, Greg said urgently. They're preparing some kind of superweapon. Time to firing? 2 minutes, maybe less. Jake's mind raced. The Krellian flagship was enormous, 3 times bigger than any other ship in their fleet. If it had a weapon that needed that much power, it could potentially destroy the Defiant with 1 shot. We need to take out that flagship before it fires. Danny, status on main cannon? 20 seconds, sir. Not fast enough. Greg, turn us toward the flagship, full speed. We're going to ram them if we have to. Greg's voice carried disbelief. Sir, you heard me. Plot a collision course, but Danny, the second that cannon is ready, you fire. Aim for their weapon system. The Defiant's engines roared, and the battleship accelerated directly toward the Krellian flagship. The Defiant rushed straight toward the Krellian flagship like a missile. The enemy commander watched from his bridge, unable to believe what he was seeing. No species had ever been this crazy. No one charged directly at a ship 3 times their size. What are the humans doing? The commander demanded. They are on a collision course, Commander. Impact in 90 seconds. They're bluffing. No one is that insane. All weapons focus fire on that ship. Destroy it before it reaches us. But the Defiant didn't slow down. If anything, it went faster. Its shields took the full force of the Krellian fleet's weapons. The shields dropped rapidly. 40%, then 30, then 20. On the Defiant's bridge, warning alarms screamed. Shields failing, Amy shouted. We're going to lose them any second now. Main cannon ready, Danny announced. Fire. The Defiant's most powerful weapon fired again. The beam of concentrated energy shot across the narrowing distance between the 2 ships. It hit the Krellian flagship's charging weapon with perfect accuracy. The result was catastrophic. All the energy the flagship had been building up suddenly had nowhere to go. It fed back into the ship's power systems. The entire front section of the massive vessel exploded in a fireball that could be seen from the planet's surface. Direct hit. Flagship is heavily damaged. Hard to port. Full reverse thrust, Jake commanded. The Defiant's engines screamed as Greg threw the ship into an emergency turn that would have torn apart a weaker vessel. The battleship curved away from the flagship, missing a collision by less than 200 meters. The force of the turn pressed everyone on the bridge hard against their seats. Shields at 15% and holding, Amy reported. But we can't take another assault like that. Jake looked at the tactical display. They had destroyed or crippled 12 Krellian ships. But 30 remained, and they were regrouping. The Defiant had hurt them badly, but the fight was far from over. Claire, status on those escape pods? We've covered their withdrawal, sir. They're safely out of the combat zone. Good, that's something. Jake opened the ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. Look what we've done. 12 Krellian ships destroyed. Their flagship crippled. Those Valorian survivors are safe because of us. We're not done yet. Engineering, I need everything you can give me. Medical teams, prepare for more casualties. All crew, stand ready. We're going back in. In the medical bay, Dr. Henry Collins and his teams were already treating the wounded. Burns, broken bones, concussions from the impacts. But morale remained high. The crew could see what they were accomplishing. They were winning an impossible fight. Back on the bridge, Danny was studying his tactical screen intensely. Sir, I found a weakness in their formation. The carriers are lightly armored compared to the other ships. If we can take out their fighter support, we reduce their offensive capability significantly. Show me. Danny highlighted the pattern on the main screen. The carriers had moved to the rear of the formation thinking they were safe. But there was a gap in the defensive screen, a narrow corridor that a fast ship might slip through. It's risky, Danny admitted. We'd be exposed on 3 sides for about 30 seconds. Jake studied the layout. Then he made his decision. Do it. Greg, take us through that gap. All weapons target those carriers. We're going to clip their wings. The Defiant surged forward again. The crew braced themselves for another run through hell. This time they would be threading the needle between enemy dreadnoughts, a maneuver that left almost no room for error. Entering the corridor. Taking fire from all sides, Greg announced, his voice steady despite the pounding the ship was taking. Shields at 10%. Almost there. Danny, fire when ready. The Defiant's weapons fired simultaneously. 4 Krellian carriers became balls of fire. Thousands of fighters were destroyed before they could even launch. The fuel in the carrier bays created spectacular explosions that chained through the ships. Carriers destroyed, breaking through to clear space. The Defiant emerged from the deadly corridor battered but intact. Its shields were nearly gone. Its hull showed scorch marks and holes in a dozen places. Several weapon systems were offline. But it was still fighting, and something remarkable was happening. The Krellian fleet was starting to break apart. The Krellian Hive commander stared at his tactical display in disbelief. In his 300 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. 16 ships destroyed or disabled, nearly a quarter of their fighters gone, the flagship barely functional, and the human ship was still operational. Status report, he demanded. The human vessel has taken significant damage, but their main systems remain functional. Our analysis suggests their shields are nearly depleted, but their weapons and engines are still at high capacity. The commander's mandibles clicked together in agitation. This should have been simple. The Valorians were weak. The human ship should have been nothing. One ship could not stand against a full Dominion fleet. Yet here they were, their forces cut in half and the human vessel still fighting. All ships maintain formation. Concentrate all fire on the human vessel. We will overwhelm them. They cannot dodge forever. But even as he gave the order, the commander felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Doubt. On the Defiant, the crew was running on pure adrenaline and determination. Every system was pushed beyond its limits. In engineering, Linda's team was performing repairs while still under fire. They were literally welding hull breaches shut while enemy weapons pounded the ship. "Sir, I've got good news and bad news." Linda's voice came through the intercom. "Good news is I can give you one more shot from the main cannon. Bad news is after that we'll need at least an hour to cool it down or it'll melt from the inside." "One shot will have to be enough," Jake replied. "Make it count, Linda." "Always do, sir." Jake turned to Danny. "One shot. We need to make it decisive. What's your recommendation?" Danny studied the display for a long moment. "The flagship, sir. It's damaged, but it's still coordinating their fleet. Take out the command ship and the rest will lose cohesion. The Krellians rely on their hive mind structure. Cut off the head and the body falls apart. Range to flagship? 60,000 kilometers. Well within range. Greg, can you get us a clean shot?" The navigator ran quick calculations. "I can, sir, but we'll need to expose our belly. Our shields are weakest there. Then make it fast. All hands brace for impact. This is going to hurt." The Defiant rolled onto its back, presenting its heavily armed top surface toward the enemy, while exposing its more vulnerable underside. Immediately, Krellian weapons found the weak spot. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes struck the unprotected hull, tearing through armor and into interior compartments. Warning sirens blared everywhere. Hull breaches on decks 9, 10, and 11. "Casualties reported!" Main cannon charged and ready. Danny called out, "Fire!" The Defiant's ultimate weapon fired for the third time. The beam of concentrated energy crossed the distance to the Krellian flagship in less than a second. This time, Danny had aimed for the ship's central power core, the biological heart that powered the entire vessel. The beam punched through the flagship's damaged forward section and penetrated deep into its core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire ship seemed to pulse with light, as if every cell in its structure had activated at once. The flagship exploded. Not a simple explosion, but a cascade of energy that rippled outward in waves, consuming the massive vessel from the inside out. The shockwave hit nearby Krellian ships, disrupting their systems and sending them spinning out of control. "Flagship destroyed," Danny announced with triumph. "Sir, the Krellian fleet is breaking formation." "They're retreating!" Jake watched as the remaining Krellian ships began withdrawing from the system. Without their flagship to coordinate their hive mind, they were losing cohesion. They were becoming individual ships rather than a unified fleet. And individual ships knew when they were beaten. Jake watched the tactical display as the Krellian ships fled the system. They scattered in different directions, their perfect formation completely broken. Ships that had moved like one organism now fled like frightened animals. It was almost hard to believe. "Should we chase them?" Greg asked. "Negative. Let them go. We've done enough. Besides, I don't think the Defiant could survive another fight." Jake took a deep breath. "Damage report." Amy consulted her screens. Her face was serious. "Sir, we're in bad shape. Shields are completely offline and need major repairs. We have hull breaches on 7 decks. Main cannon is destroyed. We've lost 30% of our weapons systems. Engine output is down to 60%. And we have 53 casualties, 12 of them critical. But we're alive," Danny added quietly. "And so are the Valorians." As if hearing her cue, Claire looked up from her station. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Valorian Council. They're requesting permission to approach." "Grant it." The view screen changed to show a Valorian Council member. She looked like a human woman, but with pale blue skin and large expressive eyes. Her face showed exhaustion and overwhelming relief. She bowed deeply. "Commander Morrison, on behalf of all Valorians, we offer our eternal gratitude. You saved our world when you had every reason to leave. Your courage will be remembered in our songs for all time." Jake felt the weight of her words. We're just glad we could help. How bad is the damage on your planet? Significant, but we can rebuild. Thanks to you. The bombardment lasted only hours instead of days. Our people survive. Our civilization endures. Because of you and your crew. Our reinforcements should arrive soon. They'll help with rebuilding, and they can help repair the Defiant. Commander, the Valorian said softly, you stood alone against impossible odds. Just you and your crew. How did you find such courage? Jake looked around his bridge at his exhausted, battered, but triumphant crew. We didn't stand alone. We had each other, and we had something worth fighting for. That's all anyone needs. The transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge was quiet. Then Claire spoke up. Sir, I'm picking up multiple incoming signals. It's the Earth Defense Fleet, 8 battleships, 20 cruisers, and support vessels. Admiral Frank Peterson is requesting to speak with you. The view screen changed again, showing a weathered face that Jake knew well. Admiral Peterson had been his teacher at the academy. Seeing him now brought a wave of relief Jake hadn't known he was feeling. Jake, the Admiral said. There was pride in his voice. We picked up your battle on long-range sensors. Command is calling it the stand at Epsilon Prime. Son, what you did here today, the entire fleet is talking about it. You held off a full Krellian invasion force with a single ship. We got lucky, sir. Luck had nothing to do with it. You and your crew just proved something the galaxy needs to know. The Krellian Dominion can be beaten. They're not invincible. And humanity isn't backing down. Jake felt the truth in those words. The Krellians had conquered for 300 years because everyone believed they couldn't be stopped. But the Defiant had stopped them. One human ship, one determined crew had shattered that myth. What are your orders, Admiral? Get your ship repaired and your crew some rest. You've earned it. But Jake, this is just the beginning. After today, the Krellians know humanity is a threat. They'll come for us with everything they have. Then we'll be ready for them, sir. I know you will. Peterson out. As the fleet began arriving and repair crews started their work, Jake walked to the observation deck. He looked out at the stars and thought about what they had accomplished. Somewhere out there, the Krellian Dominion was regrouping, planning their next move. They would come again with more ships and more firepower, but they would find humanity ready, and they would learn what every bully eventually learns. Sometimes if you push hard enough, you find someone who pushes back harder. Danny found him there an hour later. Mind if I join you? Not at all. They stood together, watching repair shuttles move between the Defiant and the fleet support ships. Sparks flew as welding crews worked on the hull breaches. Supply ships brought fresh ammunition and replacement parts. Have you heard the reports? Danny asked. 17 different civilizations have reached out to Earth in the past hour alone. Some want alliances. Some want to buy our weapons technology. Some just want to know how we did it. Did what? Made the Krellians bleed. Jake nodded slowly. The stand at Epsilon Prime is going to change things. For 300 years, the Krellian Dominion has been unstoppable. Resistance was considered suicide. Surrender was the only logical choice. Until today, Jake agreed. We proved they can be beaten. That's going to give hope to a lot of species who've been living in fear. But it's also going to make the Krellians angry. They're going to come after us hard. I know, but we'll face that when it comes. Right now, let's just appreciate what we accomplished. We saved an entire planet. We protected our allies. And we showed the galaxy that humanity doesn't run from a fight. The door to the observation deck opened, and Admiral Peterson walked in. Gentlemen, thought I might find you here. Both men straightened. Admiral, at ease. This isn't official. Peterson moved to the window. I wanted to tell you in person. The Council has made a decision. Earth is forming the Galactic Defense Coalition. 23 species have already signed on, with more expressing interest every hour. We're done standing by while the Krellians consume the galaxy. That's ambitious, sir. It's necessary. And Jake, they want you to lead it. Fleet Commander Morrison, you'd have tactical command of the entire coalition fleet. Jake felt like the weight of a planet had just landed on his shoulders. Sir, I'm honored, but I'm not sure I'm the right person. You're exactly the right person. You and the Defiant proved that one ship can make a difference. Imagine what we can do with 100 ships. 1,000. All working together, all determined to stand against the Dominion. The Krellians won't let that happen without a fight. I'm counting on it. Peterson's voice became hard as steel. For 300 years, they've destroyed civilizations. They've enslaved populations. They've consumed entire worlds. Someone needs to stand up to them. Someone needs to show the galaxy that bullies can be beaten. That's what you did at Epsilon Prime. That's what we're going to do everywhere they threaten. Danny spoke up. With respect, Admiral, the Defiant got lucky. We caught them by surprise. Next time, they'll be ready for our tactics. Then we'll be ready for theirs. Peterson turned to face both men directly. Gentlemen, I won't lie. The war that's coming will be the biggest humanity has ever faced. We'll lose ships. We'll lose people. There will be dark days ahead. But we're not fighting for conquest. We're fighting for survival. Ours and everyone else's who can't stand up to the Dominion alone. Jake thought about the Valorian counselor, about the gratitude in her eyes. He thought about the 53 wounded crew members and the 3 who hadn't made it. He thought about his daughter back on Earth who would inherit whatever galaxy they left behind. When do we start? He asked. Peterson smiled. Tomorrow. The Coalition fleet is assembling at Titan Station. You'll meet with the other commanders, coordinate strategies, begin joint training. We have 6 months before the Krellian response. We need to be ready. We will be, sir. After Peterson left, Jake and Danny remained in the observation deck. The repairs on the Defiant were progressing quickly. The ship would fly again soon, stronger than before. This is really happening, Danny said. We're going to war with the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Yes. And we think we can win? Jake looked at the stars. We don't have a choice. The Krellians conquered easily because no one stood up to them. Everyone believed they were invincible. But we broke that myth, Danny. At Epsilon Prime, we showed the galaxy they can be beaten. One battle doesn't win a war. No, but it starts one we can win. Jake turned from the window. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start building something new, a unified force that can stand against the darkness. As Danny left, Jake remained alone with his thoughts. In the distance, he could see Titan Station, where hundreds of ships were being built. Humanity's fleet was growing. 3 weeks after the stand at Epsilon Prime, Commander Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of the fully repaired Defiant. The ship looked better than new. Engineers had not only fixed the damage but upgraded key systems. The main cannon was more powerful. The shields were stronger. The armor was tougher. The Defiant was ready for whatever came next. But Jake wasn't thinking about the ship. He was thinking about how much the galaxy had changed in just 3 weeks. Can't sleep, sir? Danny's voice came from behind him. Too much on my mind. Jake didn't turn from the window. Have you read the reports? About the 17 civilizations reaching out to us? Yeah, I read them. Some want military alliances. Some want to buy our technology. Some just want to know our secret. What secret? How we made the Krellians bleed, Jake nodded. He understood. For 300 years, the Krellian Dominion had been like a force of nature. You couldn't fight a hurricane or stop an earthquake. You could only run or die. Resistance was considered insane, until one human battleship proved otherwise. Claire told me something interesting, Jake said. She's been monitoring Krellian communications. They're calling us the Defiant Ones now, not just the ship. Our entire species. We've earned a reputation. Is that good or bad? Depends who you ask. The Krellians see us as a major threat now. They're planning to come for us with everything they have. But the other species, the ones living in fear of the Krellians, they see us as hope. They see us as proof that the Dominion can be stopped. The door slid open and Admiral Peterson entered. I thought I'd find you two here. Both men straightened to attention. Admiral, relax, this isn't official. Peterson walked to the window and looked out at space. Beautiful view. Hard to believe so much violence happens out here. Sir? Jake asked, sensing there was more to this visit. I wanted to tell you in person before the official announcement. The Earth Council has made their decision. We're forming the Galactic Defense Coalition. 23 species have signed the charter. More are joining every day. We're done watching the Krellians destroy civilization after civilization. That's a bold move, sir. It's necessary. And Jake, they want you to command the Coalition fleet. Fleet Commander Morrison. You'd have tactical authority over every ship, every species in the Alliance. Jake felt like someone had just dropped a mountain on him. Sir, I appreciate the confidence, but I'm not sure I'm qualified for that level of command. You're exactly qualified. You and the Defiant proved that one ship with the right leadership can change everything. Now imagine what you could do with 100 ships. 1,000. All working together with one goal. The Krellians will fight back hard. I'm counting on it. Peterson's voice turned hard. For 300 years, they've terrorized the galaxy. They've destroyed worlds, enslaved populations, wiped out entire civilizations. Someone has to stop them. Someone has to show everyone that bullies can be beaten. That's what you did at Epsilon Prime. That's what we're going to do across every system they threaten. Danny spoke carefully. With respect, Admiral, we got lucky at Epsilon Prime. We caught them off guard. They weren't expecting resistance. Next time, they'll be ready. Then we'll be ready for them. Peterson looked at both men seriously. I won't sugarcoat this. The war that's coming will be the biggest conflict humanity has ever seen. We'll lose ships. We'll lose good people. There will be battles we lose and days we want to give up. But we're not fighting for glory or territory. We're fighting for survival, not just ours but everyone's who can't fight the Dominion alone. Jake thought about the Valorian counselor thanking him with tears in her eyes. He thought about the 53 wounded crew members in medical. He thought about his daughter Amy, now a pilot herself, who would live in whatever galaxy they created. When do I start? He asked. Peterson smiled with pride. Tomorrow. The Coalition fleet is gathering at Titan Station. You'll meet commanders from 24 different species. You'll coordinate training, establish protocols, develop joint strategies. Intelligence suggests we have 6 months before the Krellians launch a major offensive. We need to be ready. We will be, sir. I promise you that. After Peterson left, Jake and Danny stood together in silence for a while. Finally, Danny spoke. This is really happening. We're going to war with the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. Yes, we are. Do you really think we can win? Jake thought about that question carefully. I think we have to try. The Krellians have conquered so easily because everyone believed the myth. Everyone thought they were unbeatable. But myths can be broken. We proved that at Epsilon Prime. One battle doesn't win a war, sir. No, but it can start a movement. Right now, all across the galaxy, people are hearing about what happened here. They're hearing that one human ship stood against 40 Krellian vessels and won. They're learning that resistance is possible. That's powerful, Danny. That's how you change history. Danny was quiet for a moment. You know they'll come for Earth eventually. Once we become a real threat, they'll want to destroy our homeworld. Make an example of us, I know. That's why we have to build the Coalition strong enough to stop them. Not just defend Earth, but protect everyone. Every species that's ever lived in fear of the Dominion. That's a lot of responsibility for one person. Jake smiled grimly. Good thing I won't be alone then. I'll have the best crew in the fleet, the best ship and allies from across the galaxy. The Krellians have numbers, but we have something they don't understand. What's that? We fight for more than conquest. We fight for each other, for our homes, for people we've never met who deserve to live free. That's something worth dying for. And paradoxically, it's what makes us willing to live, to keep fighting no matter how bad things get. The next morning, Jake stood on the bridge of the Defiant as the ship prepared to leave for Titan Station. His crew was at their stations, ready and professional as always. Claire at communications, Danny at weapons, Greg at navigation, Amy at engineering, Dr. Collins in medical, Linda in the weapons bay, 800 souls who had faced impossible odds and won. All systems ready, sir, Danny reported. We're clear to depart. Take us out. Greg, standard approach to Titan Station. The Defiant's engines hummed to life and the battleship began moving away from Epsilon Prime. Below them, the planet was already recovering. Repair crews worked around the clock. New buildings rose from the ashes of the old. Life continued as it always did, because the Defiant had given them that chance. As they traveled, Claire received message after message from across the galaxy. Species that had never contacted humanity before were reaching out. Some offered technology. Some offered intelligence on Krellian movements. Some simply offered thanks and hope. Sir, you should see this, Claire said. We're getting reports from the Krellian border worlds. Apparently, 3 different colonies have rebelled in the past week. They're declaring independence from the Dominion. Jake raised his eyebrows. 3 rebellions? That's unheard of. They're saying they were inspired by the stand at Epsilon Prime. They figure if one human ship can fight 40 Krellian vessels, maybe they have a chance too. Danny whistled low. We started something, sir. We really started something. The question is whether we can finish it, Jake said. But he felt hope rising in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, they could do this. When Titan Station appeared on their view screen, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The massive space station was surrounded by warships from dozens of different species. Human battleships flew alongside Valorian cruisers, ships from the Centauri Alliance mixed with vessels from the Orion Confederation. Even the mysterious Andromedan Collective had sent representatives. "Sir, we're being hailed by Titan Station Command," Claire reported. "Put them through." A human officer appeared on screen. "Commander Morrison, Titan Station welcomes the Defiant. Your berth is ready. And sir, on behalf of everyone here, thank you. What you did at Epsilon Prime gave us all hope. It reminded us why we're out here in the first place." "Thank you, Commander. We're proud to serve." As the Defiant docked, Jake looked at his crew one final time. "Listen up, everyone. What we did at Epsilon Prime was just the beginning. Now we're part of something bigger, a coalition of species working together to stop the Krellian Dominion once and for all. The road ahead won't be easy. We'll face battles that make Epsilon Prime look simple, but I believe in every single one of you. We've already proven we can do the impossible. Now let's prove we can do it again." The crew erupted in cheers. They had faced the impossible and won. They would do it again. Jake left the bridge and walked to the airlock. Through the window, he could see hundreds of ships from across the galaxy. Each one represented a species that refused to give up, that refused to surrender to tyranny, that chose to stand and fight. The Krellian Dominion had conquered worlds with ease for 300 years. They had crushed every civilization that opposed them. They believed themselves invincible, inevitable, the ultimate power in the galaxy. But they had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity. They had seen Earth as just another conquest, humans as just another species to be destroyed. They had never imagined that a single human battleship would stand in their way. That one crew would refuse to back down against impossible odds, that their victory would inspire and